everybody. This is a continuing review of the LCD-2 closed planar magnetic headphones. One of my subscribers asked whether this pair of headphones needs to be amped by a dedicated desktop amp or if it'll work sufficiently well with portable devices. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to put this on my head, and I've got four different devices, plus my Hibby R6 player, which we'll get to at the very end. The cable I'm using is the stock cable. It's unbalanced. I have a 1/4 inch to a 3.5 millimeter adapter. I have my Hibby R6, and the first amp that we're going to look at is the iFi X-Can. This is a very, very excellent portable amplifier and DAC. It has a couple of features, additional features. It's balanced. It gives you balanced signals. So if you have a balanced cable, 2.5 millimeter or 3.5 millimeter, this thing is going to give you balanced audio, which has a higher volume output, which is fantastic. The other thing it does is that it can either increase the sound stage, or it can increase the bass, or it can increase the sound stage and the bass by just the flip of a switch. It's USB-C. It's built really, really well of really tough aluminum, and you may or may not like the styling, but short of it all, it's a very good amplifier. And let's just plug this in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my Hibby into the single-ended portion in the back, and I've got my headphone. It goes to the single-ended on the front. Once again, that is because this is not a balanced cable. So I'm just going to start playing a song from my test playlist, and it immediately starts. One of the things that this player can do, which one of the others cannot, is you can increase the volume on the R6, as you can see here, and that will increase the volume through the amplifier. Let me move this back a little bit. Through the X-Can. But the X-Can also has this knob that increases the volume. So what you can do is you can increase the volume, and then you can increase the volume again through here. And there is no doubt at all that the X-Can can drive the LCD-2 closed more than you will ever want it to be. So here's the position. So the volume right now is at 22 out of 100 on my R6, and I'm going to increase the volume to maximum on the X-Can. Okay, so that's at maximum volume when it's red. You see the red right there? That's maximum volume. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to increase the volume on the R6 at about 40% volume on the R6 and maxed out on the X-Can. This is really good, loud listening. But let me increase it again. At 75%, it's really loud. And in fact, at 75% on the R6 and maxed out on the X-Can, maxed out on the X-Can, it's really, really loud. It's very loud. It's louder than I would want to listen to. What if we go the other way? What if we take this all the way down to the minimum and we go maximum 100% of the R6, okay? Now this teal bluish color, it designates that it's very low volume, and we can start increase the volume. And the volume steps here are very, very minute, which is really nice, because if you want to fine-tune the volume, you can, and there's tactile feedback on this. And when the color changes, you know you've hit the next notch in the volume. There's low, mid, and high. Yeah, it's very, very well implemented. Now, what about the bass boost feature? Not that this is about the bass feature, but why not? Let's try it. There's a slight bump in the bass with that. Yeah. So there's a slight difference in the bass once you hit the bass boost. Oops. And it's, you know, it's kind of good. Okay, so let me stop. The X-Can, fantastic. You can drive these headphones with the X-Can and a portable player. Not a problem. Okay? So let me disconnect this and take it down all the way. You know, one of the problems with the X-Can is that their colors, and you have to memorize what the colors are. But that's also the problem with our next contender. And let me pull up my document here, my Google Doc. By the way, I have a Google Doc of all of this stuff that's going to be linked in the description below. That has a little bit of a breakdown of all these things and links to their actual web pages. The next thing we're going to look at is the Q5. And the Q5 is a brilliant, brilliant player. I would say that the Q5 is a little bit of a knockoff of the Oppo Ha2. Just, you know, give you this little case thing on the back that's glued on and gives you this case, and there's this knurled volume control on the side. It's really nice. It feels much more sturdy than the X-Can does. Okay, so the X-Can feels really good, but it's lighter, and the FIO Q5 is a little heavier. There are a lot of features with the FIO Q5. You do have a little bit of finesse with the bass. You can do bass boost on or off. Not as much as with the X-Can. The X-Can gives you a little bit more depth. It gives you a little bit more resolution with the switch of a button. This only gives you additional bass, just a slight bump. It also gives you a little bit of a change on the gain, so you can do low gain or high gain, which is helpful depending on the type of headphones that you have, low impedance or high impedance headphones. Bluetooth on this, but we are going to just do the input as we talked about previously. This has line out, coaxial in. Okay, so I'm going to put this in, turn on the device, and it should automatically detect where I'm at. Headphone in, and let's start playing. Oops. Okay, so either I have this on the wrong setting. Let's line out, line in. Nope, that's what it should be. Once again, the color thing is difficult because you gotta memorize what the color is supposed to be, and I don't quite remember what the color is supposed to be. Let me unplug this. Okay. So oh, I had it. Oh, shoot. It was the green. So in the future, if you buy this, it's the green thing. Come on. It's a little fiddly. There we go. Okay. Once you figure this out, it's it's a little easier. But the problem with this is, so with the X-Can, you just press this button and you do the long press, and then you can switch back and forth using the knob, which color you want, which setting you want. With this, you have to hit this button, long press, and then hold it, and then you got to wait for the switch. The switch takes a little bit longer on the FIO Q5 than it does on the X-Can, but it shouldn't really make a big difference. All right, so the volume on the R6, it's at 100%, and the volume on the Q5 is 0. I'm going to increase the volume. And I'd say probably 25% volume, it's loud. Probably 50% now on the Q5, very loud listening. And now 100%. It's maxed out, and it's okay volume. Definitely not as loud as with the X-Can. The X-Can gets much, much louder than the Q5. So I'm at 100%, like I said, and at 100% on the Q5, it's loud, but it's nowhere near ear-piercingly loud as it was on the X-Can. So let's try a different experiment. If I bring the volume down to 50% on the R6 and I do 100% on the Q5, it's good listening level. I would say it's almost medium listening level. You can hear things outside. I can hear myself speak. I mean, by hearing things outside, I mean, if somebody was standing next to you and talking to you, you could probably hear it, because these are closed cans. But this is not particularly powerful. So the Q5, so far, will be number 2 out of the 2 that we have listened to. So that goes there. Next is the X-Duo XD05. It's a terrible sounding name, etc., but it'll be fine. So we have aux in, digital in, USB, the actual USB-A input. You have micro USB charger, and then you have the headphone. So what we do is we put it into the aux in. And then we turn this on. And there should be an OLED screen. There it goes. There's an OLED screen. Turns on. This has a little bit of the same thing going on as the Q5. It's got 2 bass settings, either none or bass on, but it has 3 gain settings, which is good. Either gain is normal, or it's medium gain, or it's high gain. And by normal, I mean nothing is going on. You also get to choose the input. It's USB in, you can do optical, or aux in, which is what we have. Sorry about that, that's the dogs. Charlie, chill out, buddy. And the phone is actually 1/4 inch. Okay, so I've been using 1/4 to 3.5 millimeter on the other 2, on the Q5 and the X-Can, but this takes the full 1/4 inch. So if you have 1/4 inch connectors on your headphone and you don't have one of these adapters, or you don't want to go out and get an adapter, even though these are pretty cheap, about $5, the X-Duo comes with the full 1/4 inch. I don't have any other amplifiers, portable amplifiers, that does that. Now, that's all it has though. It does not have a 3.5 millimeter on this. You just got to live with it. Alright, so now that is just smooth, I mean, it's really just very smooth turning volume knob. Part of the problem, however, is that there's no indication what the volume percentage is. You just have to play it by eye. Okay, let's start the music and increase the volume. The volume on the R6 is currently at 50%, and I'm going to take the X-Duo to 50%. So this is 0, this is about 50%. And I'm going to switch it to high gain, and it just, whoa, a lot more volume. And at 100% on the X-Duo, 50% on the R6, it's very loud. If I increase the volume on the R6 to 75%, ooh, that's ear-piercingly loud. So that's a lot of power that you have in this little thing. On high gain, if I do medium gain, if I do 100% on the X-Duo, 50% on the R6, it's very loud. If I increase the volume on the R6 to 75%, ooh, that's ear-piercingly loud. So that's a lot of power that you have in this little thing. On high gain, if I do medium gain, if I do 100% on the X-Duo, 50% on the R6, it's very loud. So that's a lot of power that you have in this little thing. On high gain, if I do medium gain, and go back to 75%. Definitely a big sound or volume difference. If I go to low gain at 100% and 75% on the R6, not as big a difference between no gain or low gain, medium gain, as there is between the medium and the high and the low and the high. As far as the other features are concerned, this thing is pretty well packed. It's got DSD in here. I think there are several different DSD options. I think there's 4 filters that you could click through, which is kind of nice. It's really well built. It's metal. Knob is very nice. And having the OLED screen is also very good because you get a visual feedback as to what's going on, how it's connected. Easy to select your connections. You just flip the switch from USB to optical to aux. Easy to switch between gains and whether you want bass boost or you don't want bass boost. And in order to select the filters, you hit on the side, and on the back here on the bottom you actually have the ability to turn off the display if you want. You have the ability to switch through your filters. So it's a fairly neat device. So let's stop that. Now, how does this rank? This is tough because I think the volume-wise, this is very, very similar to the X-Can. So I'm just going to keep these two together. I think they're tied for first place, and the FIO is, you know, second place, I guess, second/third place. Now we have the amazing little portable tube amp that is exceptionally affordable at $75. These tubes, this is the Little Bear B4. You have to be very careful when you buy this. There's a different version of the B4. It's the quote-unquote newer version of the B4 on Amazon. That one does not have replaceable tubes on the inside. This one, the older version, just call it the silver, does in fact have replaceable tubes. So when these tubes go bad, you can replace them. If you want to try different tubes, you can try that if you can find this particular tube size. So let's do the input and this. Now this only takes 3.5 millimeter. All the others only take 3.5 millimeter. The only one that takes 1/4 inch and only 1/4 inch is the X Duo, for better or worse. So you got to turn this on the top, and once you turn it on, there's a kind of a pop in your ear cup with every headphone that I've tried this with. It's just the way it is. And you can actually, I don't know if you can see in the video, but the tubes start glowing, and that's real tube glow. That's not an LED in there that's mimicking tube glow. Okay, let's play the song. My volume on this is currently, let's set it at 50%. And let me start from 0 volume. So that's 0. That's probably 25% audible. That's 50% audible. It's not very loud. 75% pretty loud. 100% fairly loud. If I increase the volume on the R6, let's see what happens. We're at 50% on the R6. Let's go louder. 75%. Ooh, that's loud. Ooh. Any louder than 75% on the R6 and 100% on the B4, you're going to blow out your eardrums. So, very powerful for a tube amp, especially a portable tube amp. Look at this thing. Does it change the sound signature? The answer is yes. There's something going on with the sound signature with the B4 that's different from the solid state amps, the other ones that we've checked. It's not a huge difference, but it's a noticeable difference if you're paying attention. Okay, so let's end this. What does this mean? This means that the B4 is more powerful than the Q5. So the Q5 goes into last place, B4 gets into the middle. In fact, this is kind of my struggle. let me take this stuff off. Now that I can actually hear myself speaking. This is kind of my struggle at this point. How do I choose amongst these? Like, which one do I recommend? If you're talking about volume only, then if you're just talking about volume, I would say that the X-Can and the X-Duo are very, very similar in volume output. The B4 is very close in maximum volume output. The Q5 lags way behind. This is the least of the volume outputting portable amps. But in feature set, there are similarities and differences. The biggest difference is with the B4 compared to the rest of these. There's no Bluetooth function, there's no DSD, there's no multiple inputs. All you have is the ability to charge, an input 3.5mm, and a headphone out 3.5mm, and that's it. If you're okay with that and getting kind of a tubey sound, this is fantastic, because you should be well comfortable understanding that this thing will drive the LCD-2 closed. Then you have the X-Duo. The biggest feature set for the X-Duo really is the OLED screen. It's not so much of these filters. You know, I'm not a big fan of filters on portable devices. I don't think they really add much, and in fact, what they can do is distort some of the music that you're trying to listen to. But it's got a 1/4 inch. None of the others have 1/4 inch. It's easy to select your input, your bass, your gain. The knob is very, very nice. It's very portable. It's got multiple input options. You can use it as a standalone desktop amp if you wanted to, because it's got that USB input. You have the the X-Can, which has a lot of stuff going on here. This, I think, sounds, overall, this probably sounds the most pleasant to my ears. And for the size of this, I mean, look at this. You see the size? Very, very small. You see the size? For the size of this thing, I am impressed at how well these drive the LCD-2s. And then you have the FIO, which is a great portable amplifier. For all other uses, this is a great, great, great amplifier. But the problem is, if you want to go really loud with your music, with the LCD-2s, for example, this is not going to cut it. At least not in my opinion, because you don't really have a whole lot of headroom to go with this. Using this particular portable amplifier, the Q5, with, say, the Audio Quest Nighthawk or the Night Owl or one of the Denon headphones, not a problem. It's just that, or even with the LCD-2, it's not really a problem as much as it is if you want to get really loud music. This is not the way to go. It's good music. It's really easy to use. It's got multiple module options. If you go on their website, you'll find out what those are. So this is the most versatile of all of these amplifiers, just not the most powerful. Now let's try the LCD-2 with the R6, as I promised I would. Oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to hit the camera. And of course, I need the adapter. It's playing, 25% audible, about 60% comfortable listening level, 80% I can barely hear anything, including my own voice, 100% very loud, very, very, very loud. The 100% on the R6 is probably equal to the 75% on the X-Can, the 75% on the X-Duo. Is that gonna make sense? 100% on the R6 equals 75% on the X-Can and the X-Duo, the top two contenders here, vying for this #1 spot. Okay? The other things I want to mention is easily available on the Google Doc that's going to be linked to this video, go ahead and take a look at the Google Doc. It's got the links for the product pages where you can buy these, look at alternatives perhaps if you go on Amazon. But ultimately, I think this is a good explanation of how well these particular headphones, the LCD-2s, are going to be handled by these types of amplifiers, portable amplifiers. If you don't want to buy these or these are too expensive, then what you want to do is listen to my video, watch my video, find out which one that you want, right, based upon the feature set that I describe in it on my Google Doc, and then try to find something that's within your price range. Try to match the volume output, the milliwatts per ohm on these DACs to these amps to a cheaper one that you're looking for. And if it's fairly close enough, then yeah, I would say that you should, you could probably try it and see if it works out or not, especially if you get it from Amazon, because there's a 30-day return policy on Amazon. All right, hopefully that has been of some help. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions about any future videos, let me know, and I'll be happy to upload what I can within a reasonable amount of time. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you.